I'm too nostalgic, I'll admit it.
We graduated 4 months ago. What can you possibly be nostalgic for?
I'm nostalgic for conversations I had yesterday. I've begun reminiscing events before they even occur. I'm reminiscing this right now. I can't go to the bar because I've already looked back in it in my memory, and I didn't have a good time.
Welcome back to the Thinking Critical Comic Book Podcast. This is Wes. It's time for another comic book retrospective. We're going back to a team book from DC Comics. We're going to do Justice League 21-22 and then Justice League 29-30. And we're going to be talking about the Justice League and the Justice Society of America, Earth 1, Earth 2, and the introduction of the Crime Syndicate in Earth 3. Very exciting stuff from Gardner Fox. And here with me to talk about is the Normal Gang. We've got the lifelong reader, the voice of the voiceless, the man so cool they call him the Brain. Eric Breen, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Well, that is fantastic. Next up, we have comic book writer, award-winning editor Joe Corallo here to talk about some of the history behind this and the exciting stories we've got in these Justice League comics.
Yes, I'm happy to be here, Wes and Breen.
Absolutely. So we were excited to do this. Wanted to talk some Justice League, and this really kind of fits right in with the Flash of Two Worlds that we've already reviewed here on the channel. It kind of follows up on the ideas that Gardner Fox introduced in there, but it definitely expands things to a whole new level here. Eric Breen, I don't imagine that you read this as they were coming out, but once you finally got into them, how exciting is it as they're expanding the multiverse and the ideas that you could have like infinite amount of verse?
And you're right. I did not know how to read at age 1. Actually, it might even predate me, believe it or not. I probably read these a few years into collecting, and they're fun because you get to see other characters other than the Justice League in the Justice League book. And I mean, the stories are kind of simple by today's standards, but that's not the point. The point is just the excitement of the day. If you can put yourself back in that era, it probably was really exciting for fans because you didn't have to be that old to have remembered the Justice Society, because I think these were done in 61 or 62.
63.
And like I said, back after 12 years. So I mean, you could be, if you were a kid reading those and were still reading as a young adult, you remembered both teams, and I imagine that was probably really exciting for fans at that time.
Oh yeah.
So this does come out in August 1963 is issue 21. Issue 30 comes out in September 1964. So we have a pretty interesting idea that's kind of stretched out over a 1 year period. What's going on in 63? Is the comic industry booming? What's going on there, Joe?
Yeah. By the time issue 22 came out, for example, was Avengers #1 and X-Men #1. Oh. So big stuff going on. In August. Yeah. In August, I want to say it was My Greatest Adventure 81, which was the second appearance of the Doom Patrol. Again, which, for everyone counting, Doom Patrol predated X-Men by a couple months. And Arnold Drake got to work on both. But, there's really interesting stuff going on here, obviously with Avengers and X-Men, all that. Fantastic Four's in full swing. We're on like issues like 17, 18 at this point. I think the Watcher has been introduced. You're really getting into some of the heights of the success of Marvel. I think
Marvel's getting ready to take over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, yes. So there's a lot of really great and interesting stuff going on here. And it's also interesting to note that Avengers, is finally coming out right around now when it was in part supposed to be their solution to the phenomenal success of Justice League of America. And like you said, Gardner Fox, creating this team, and Mike Sekowsky being the artist on it from the beginning. He's still on the book at this point, and together they would create some incredible memorable villains beyond just, the Crime Syndicate. We're also talking about, Starro, Mazo, Dr. Light, characters like that they would co-create together to take out, the Justice League.
Now, I do not want to besmirch DC Comics at this point, but when you read a Marvel comic from this era and then you come and read like this Justice League, it does feel like the Marvel comics are written for maybe a tad bit older audience than the Justice League comic that I'm reading here.
Without a doubt. That was the thing at DC in those days. Once they'd revived the superhero line, their belief was that superheroes were for kids. Now, if you happen to be a young adult and we're still reading them, that's fine. But I think they aimed a little older with their war, certainly with their war books, their science fiction, even the romance books, and the science fiction, of like Mystery in Space, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, which in those days were science fiction books. Yeah. And the superhero books were for the kiddies, so to speak.
Yeah.
It is still enjoyable. Yes. I still quite enjoyed it, but you can just tell that they're aiming for different audiences, and you'll see that DC Comics eventually has to adapt to what Marvel is doing. Marvel doesn't end up adapting really to what DC is doing. I thought it was interesting strategies. Yeah,
and to further Breen's point, I do think the conversation about this stuff has been oversimplified, and Breen was bringing up a very good point of DC was putting out comics that were for an older audience than this. It just wasn't in their superhero books for the most part. Doom Patrol is a little closer to something like Fantastic Four and books like that. That's one of my favorite Silver Age DC books.
I'd say the Legion also aimed at that same teen audience that Marvel was getting into the college years.
Yeah, I love this zany DC like Silver Age stuff. I think it's fantastic. Because it's so off the wall and weird a lot of the times.
Well, Englentine has a term he uses called Silver Age silliness, and we get our share of it in this story, and not to detract from it, because I said it was a blast to revisit.
Oh, absolutely! Do you think about the concepts that are being invented, explored here, are still driving the DC universe to this day?
Yeah.
Every single crisis is based essentially on what we're getting right here.
There's a Crime Syndicate series going on right now.
Yes.
And another thing, too, that pushes back a little bit against some of the other broader things that people kind of talk about this era of DC. Both of these stories are two-parters. Mm-hmm. They do not conclude. They're not one and dones. And there's kind of been this idea that Marvel was coming in and doing more, larger arcs and things like that.
Sweeping epics.
Yeah, like DC wasn't getting there, and it took longer for them to do that sort of stuff. It's not really the case. That's not to say that they were doing that as much as Marvel, but they still were doing two-parters like these stories, and there's other examples in other books, but it wasn't completely out of the norm as some people kind of discuss it.
All right, so let's get right into this awesome Silver Age DC Comics goodness. We've got Justice League of America 21, Crisis on Earth 1, Gardner Fox, Mike Sekowsky, Bernard Sachs on inks. And this is the first team-up of Golden Age Justice Society and Silver Age Justice League. And it begins a series of annual team-ups with that through the Justice League of America that goes through issue 245. So a very long tradition has started right here. The Justice League of America is made up of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Green Arrow, Martian Manhunter, Flash, Barry Allen, and the Atom, Ray Palmer. Justice Society of America is going to be Dr. Fate, Black Canary, Flash, Jake Garrick, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, Hawkman, the Atom, Al Pratt, and Hourman. There's another character that's introduced later. I can't remember which one it is right now. This is a lot of fun. I quite enjoy this story. It just starts out, Batman, apparently he's the chairman of the Justice League, and he has identified that Kronos, Dr. Alchemy, Alchemy and Felix Faust have formed the Crime Champions, and they intend to commit 3 crimes simultaneously. And simultaneously, we see on Earth 2, the Justice Society of America are being challenged by the Fiddler, the Icicle, and the Wizard, and the Justice Society of America are coming out of retirement, kind of setting the tables for this wonderful story, Eric Breen.
Yeah, and I especially liked the new modernized headquarters with the best of late 50s furniture. It's just, what a simple idea. The bad guys basically, send them a telegram saying, "Hey, we're gonna go commit some crimes. You want to try to stop us? If you're not busy." And when they're reintroducing the Justice Society, they're saying, "Oh, there's a little gray at the temples, a little more punch around the middle, but they're raring to go." And when they get the challenge, they go, "Oh, we feel younger already." I just love that. And
oh yeah, no, it's so good, and I think this is the Justice League headquarters that they briefly use when Grant Morrison's doing Doom Patrol, because they're bouncing around from like base to base before they settle in with Danny the Street. There's that like few issues or so where they're working out of the old Justice League headquarters. I think this is the same one.
I think it's in a cave somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, because they work in like a cave for a little bit in Grant's run, and they preface it as this is the old Justice League hideout. But yeah, it's great. It's great seeing the Fiddler. For all you comics retrospective completists here on the channel, the Fiddler had fought the other Flashes, or the 2 Flashes rather, in a previous iteration of this show. So
they had the Fiddler Mobile. Unfortunately, I don't think we get to see that one here.
It was in the shop.
Yeah,
it was in the shop. Now let's get into these battles. And basically, teams of the Justice League go out to battle these the members of the Crime Champions. Felix Faust is first. He's like plundering a sunken battleship. Aquaman, Atom, and Martian Manhunter arrive on the scene. There's a pretty good battle there, but I like the idea. I don't know that it's executed perfectly, but like Martian Manhunter uses his Martian breath to shoot Atom like a bullet towards Faust, but unfortunately he kind of disappears, and that kind of starts a chain of events that we see with these villains. Eric Breen, what do you is Martian Manhunter shooting Atom with his Martian breath a thing? Is it like was it fastball special?
Apparently, or it was just whatever fit the story, because these stories tended to follow a pattern. And I noticed in this one, this is not the only time that he uses his Martian super breath. And I'm guessing maybe they figure since Superman had everybody's powers by himself, they had to just parse some of them out to other characters to maybe make them feel more involved.
Yeah.
I would have to go back and read a couple hundred old DCs to know for sure. But, interesting battle. And you're right. They do kind of follow those same patterns where it's kind of reminds me like the old Batman TV series. In the first part, they're going to lose. In the second part, they're going to win. So the Justice League doesn't fare so well in the first go around here.
No, and then next up is Dr. Alchemy is using the Philosopher's Stone. Apparently he stole that from Harry Potter to rob an armored car, which he essentially turns into a plane. I actually quite like that part. Superman, Green Arrow, and Flash are on the case. And all of a sudden Flash starts vibrating so fast he disappears, which is strange. Yeah. And then Alchemy turns like a fire hydrant into kryptonite, crippling Superman. He turns the ground beneath Green Arrow's feet into glue. He turns his arrows into weeds, but eventually Green Arrow is able to help out Superman, and then Alchemy kind of escapes on his armored car plane thingy. Joe?
Yes. No, this whole, oh my God. It's Dr. Alchemy's great. I went a little above and beyond for myself. I ended up, I have the Silver Age Flash Omnibus on my the first volume on my shelf. So I saw that Showcase 14 and I was just like, you know what? I'll read that too. And that first Dr. Alchemy story is wonderful. It's completely nonsensical, but it's great. I love it. Just using those kind of excuses to just screw it. We're just gonna make this truck a plane or whatever because alchemy.
You can do anything.
There's a line. There's a line on at the end of this battle after when Superman is flying off with Green Arrow that kind of encapsulates DC of that era. Hold on, Green Arrow, up and away we go after that crook.
Absolutely. It's an older time. The last battle we've got is Time Thief Kronos is robbing a vault in Power City. Batman, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman come to stop him, and I guess he uses some type of watch or something to cut Batman's bat robe. He uses yellow smoke on Green Lantern. He also has like a clock that used like hands were stopping the lasso of truth or something. And then suddenly he also disappears. So we have all these villains disappearing in front of the heroes as they make their escape. Eric.
Interesting little factoid. Kronos ended up becoming the Atom's more or less house villain in the Atom series. And after the Crisis, when they brought him back, they made him a Blue Beetle villain because the Atom was on a microscopic world with his new girlfriend at the time.
The microverse.
I don't know if they call it that at DC, but yeah, the DC equivalent. But yeah, so let's see, we're now at the point where the villains have vanished, and well, I'll tell you what, I would like this bachelor pad they're hanging out in.
Are you talking about the villain, like the villain lair?
The villain Shangri-La, absolutely.
So apparently, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I love how kind of the way that the invisible jet is drawn in on like pages like 12 and 13 there. It almost kind of seems like it's like sentient and just like hanging out with them, like, the invisible jet's here too.
Just in the background. So apparently this is all coming to plan. The Earth 1 villains and the Earth 2 villains are all working together. They got a secret lair between the multiverses, and we see the Fiddler, Wizard, and Icicle talk about defeating the JSA in their world, and then the two teams decide that they're going to switch Earths, but when they do that, the Earth 2 villains, when they arrive, they look like the Earth 1 villains.
Yeah.
And the Justice League of America tries to fight them, but they don't know their power sets, and it does not go well for them, Joe. In fact, they lose pretty handily.
Oh, yeah, no. And I also just want to throw out some of these character designs are also still really great and hold up. Like that Icicle, like villain costume design is wonderful. Even like Dr. Alchemy and Fiddler, like they're really well designed villains, I think. But yeah, no, it's great because they switch places and decide that they're like. It's such a bizarre plan, and I love it. It's like something right out of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they're just like, okay, we're going to swap places with the villains in the other world because they don't know us, and then we're going to lay low, but we can only lay low for so long. So when we commit crimes, we're going to dress like the villains from this world, and you're just like thinking to yourself, like, yeah, but like they don't know the secret identities of those villains either. They're just going to know you're those bad guys.
Just don't dress like villains and no one will know.
Yeah, I get the idea is they don't know what their real powers are, so they think they can one-up them. But it's like, that works like once.
Right, but all they have to do is get away and they can resume their secret identities that aren't known on this earth. Yeah. But you notice they were smart enough to take out the only two people that could identify them from either world, being the Flashes.
Yes, they did. And this results in essentially the Justice League of America having to retreat. Superman's like, no mas, we've had enough, and they decide they need to contact the Flashes, so they use Merlin's crystal ball. My goodness, we cannot escape Merlin no matter what universe we're in. And it turns out they're stuck between dimensions, but they tell them that or at least I believe it's Barry Allen tells them they need to contact the Justice League of America on Earth 2. and they used a crystal ball to bring the Justice Society of America into Earth One's realm. And I guess that's the end of the book there, Breen.
Yeah, we get a one panel introduction, and then they go to each other's worlds to fight each other's, or they go to their Justice League goes to Earth 2 to fight the villains who've taken refuge there, and vice versa, and they send the Green Lanterns off to free the Flashes.
Yep, that's right at the beginning of the Justice League 22, and we get some pretty fun team-ups here. We get Al Pratt, Adam, and Hourman. They're going after the Fiddler, who's trying, I think, to rob a museum. Hawkman and Black Canary are after the Wizard. Dr. Fate is going after Icicle. Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, and Ray Palmer. Adam are chasing Felix Faust. Batman and Wonder Woman, that is a powerful team, follow Dr. Alchemy. And Superman and Aquaman are hunting Kronos. And it's basically all them fighting. And it not going so well, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of stumbling.
They kind of win, but it's,
Yeah, I mean, can you believe that Dr. Fate's so out of practice that Icicle gets him with that ice column? Like, come on.
I think that Icicle should get everyone with the ice column. That should be, be unbeatable.
Sure, I'm with you. I just love Icicle's design and his powers there, and and it wouldn't be too long before we're just completely inundated with ice-based villains in the DCU. So
something else that comes to mind reading this. You ever play If I Wrote It with with these old stories? Say, well, if I had written this, you come with this idea to put the two Justice League and Justice Society in the same book. Then they've got to go to both Earths. Wouldn't you have maybe had one representative from each team go, instead of two Justice League, two Justice Societies, 1 and 1, so you could integrate the two teams in this story? Just
the numbers are off, and they don't really pair up to team together, and they only go after their own villains. I'm with you. Would it be more fun?
Well, and also you're going to the other person's Earth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so wouldn't you want to have, for lack of a better term, a guide with you that's more familiar with the Earth you're going to? Mm-hmm. And I think it would have made the story more fun, because when you get to the end of it, you realize there really is very little interaction between the two teams. They just happen to be occupying space in the Justice League's book.
They decided to do it together. That's about it. Now, I think Eric brought it up. We've got the Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan, and Alan Scott. They're trying to find the Flashes. And as they're doing this, essentially the heroes, they win. They successfully capture the crime champions, which is all 6 villains. But when the Flashes when the Green Lanterns flee the Flashes from their traps, apparently they use all the power from the Green Lantern rings, and it springs another trap that encages all of the heroes into another realm or something. What is going on here, Joe?
It's a bit of sciencey mumbo jumbo stuff. They're breaking them out of the cage, but they're strong enough to, I guess, not have any protection in a space void for a few seconds while they do that to free them, and then they get everyone
it powers up some type of incantation that the original villains did not have the power to use for all of them or something.
Yeah, so I mean they get that, but then you get some wonderful actiony pages without any of those pesky panel breaks.
I love these. We get about 6 of these, I think, through all of the stories, and they're just white pages, and it's got some battle sequences. I thought they were terrific.
Oh yeah, I love this stuff. That's that's poster fodder. That's the kind of stuff you want, kind of blown up and framed. It looks wonderful.
And we got to give Ray Palmer, the scientist on the Justice League, credit for coming up with the idea for how they can free themselves.
He tells the Green Lanterns to use their rings to shrink themselves to subatomic size to escape their cages, and then using their power rings combined with the Flash's super speed, they're able to free the rest of everybody else from the cages. I think that's what happened, Breen. And then as the crime champions realize what's happening and they're losing, the Fiddler suggests there must be an Earth 3, but they can't find it. And then the JLA and JSA part ways with the prisoners from their planets, kind of victorious. So they won, Joe, in the end.
They did. I also love that earlier we're like, these comics are for kids, and then at the end of this issue we're like, we think that's what happened. I don't know if we understood what happened in this comic, but hey.
Well, that's the point. Only the kids figured it out. We old men are befuddled. And so we get 2 issues culminating in 2 pages of battle where once again the Martian Manhunter is blowing away his opponent.
I love that Martian breath. They need to bring it back, Breen.
And then again, I said they're standing over the fallen heroes or the fallen villains, and it's like, yeah, let's do this again sometime. And boy, I hope Snapper did well in his exams.
Also, they introduced the concept of an Earth 3. Obviously, it did not work there. They weren't able to discover it. But it is revisited in Justice League of America 29, Crisis on Earth 3. Once again, Gardner Fox, Mike Sekowsky, Bernard Sachs of the creative team. And this is the first appearance of Earth 3 in the Crime Syndicate, which is made up of Ultraman, an evil version of Superman, Superwoman, you guessed it, an evil version of Wonder Woman, Owlman, messed up version of Batman, Power Ring, which is your equivalent to Green Lantern, and Johnny Quick, obviously that's the Flash.
Yeah.
And on their Earth 3, Breen, they are bored because they are undefeated. Evil is the dominant force on Earth 3, and they learn Earth 1 exists, and they decided they need to commit crimes on Earth 1 to challenge the Justice League. Now that's how you start a confrontation.
That's right. After explaining that on their Earth, Columbus discovered Europe after sailing from America, the British won their independence from America, and that actor Abe Lincoln shot President John Wilkes Booth. So things are a little different on Earth 3.
Things are a little backwards.
Of course, if you have superpowers, you're going to use them to commit crime. It just makes sense on Earth 3.
They also put orange juice in their cereal on Earth 3.
They
Disgusting. It's too acidic for cereal.
And Mikey likes everything but Life cereal.
but yeah, it's great, and again, some of these designs really hold up. I think Superwoman, Power Ring, and Johnny Quick in particular have some pretty solid costumes in this book.
Power Ring was my favorite.
Yeah, Power Ring's
really knocked that one out of the park.
Great costume.
And Ultraman's probably happy that he got a redesign.
Yeah. It happens.
And Owlman almost works, except the goofy owl, mask.
Like the stuck owl head on this, like he's wearing.
Yeah, but other than that, it's mostly fun. But yeah, Power Ring just looks great.
Absolutely. Looks like dynamite. And essentially, they arrive on Earth 1 to challenge the Justice League of America. Ultraman fights Flash. It's cool how they do the initial lineups. None of them fight like their version, the good version of themselves. Yeah. Johnny Quick fights Batman. Power Ring squares off with Superman. Superwoman actually challenges Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I guess because if the female heroes have to fight each other, everybody else fights a different version. Yeah. Owlman clashes with Hal Jordan. And wouldn't you know it, Joe, the Justice League of America are actually winning until the Crime Syndicate say, is it Voltham?
Yeah, Voltham. Yep.
And that transports them all back to Earth 3. I guess they had some type of backup plan if things weren't going, their way on Earth 1.
Yeah, no, I mean, it helps them to vibrate into back to Earth 3. So what you could say is everyone in this comic is just vibing.
Everybody's vibing, Brave.
You could. I don't know why you would.
No fights, just vibes.
But this is, many, many pages of just fight scenes of these people kind of going at it. And it's a lot of fun. They do a really good job.
Yeah, it's great. It's what some people would refer to as fan service of heroes punching villains.
Avengers versus Defenders level stuff. but obviously this is much earlier than that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, the JLA are immobilized and taken prisoner on Earth 3. After dispatching of them, the Crime Syndicate decides they need to take down the Earth 2's Justice Society of America. But unbeknownst to them, Eric, the JSA have detected Ultraman peeking into their reality. They immediately contact the Justice League, which I found confusing, and learn that the Crime Syndicate are coming to battle them and warn them, do not let them use the words Voltham.
And they say, we'd love to help, but as soon as this spell wears off, our arms are going to be stuck to the table again. So good luck, fellas.
And that's like right before, what was it, on page 21, where Ultraman is really spanking Flash there.
Like literally.
It
is literally.
Literal. Yes. It's it's
I remember at one point when the Justice League are rolling out, it looks like Flash and Superman are holding hands, the way they have them like in motion. But I think that was in the very first issue. I thought that was funny. I should have pointed it out. My bad. But these things happen in some of these old timey comics. So the JLA cannot help the JSA, but they do know to avoid the word Voltham. And then we get Justice League of America number 30, the most dangerous Earth of all. And the JSA are ready for the Crime Syndicate. And we get Hawkman fighting Johnny Quick, Black Canary battling Superwoman, Dr. Fate, Power Ring squaring off Hourman versus Owlman, and Starman challenges Ultraman. Joe, I know you are a fan of Starman.
Yes.
Is this where your love started?
Yeah, I actually I got into Starman through the James Robinson Starman book, and then went back and read the Golden Age stuff. So I read I guess it was the Joe Shuster stuff before I actually went and read some of this for the first time. So yeah, I love it. I love this stuff. It was great seeing Starman here. Ted Knight's a real stand-up guy, and what a scientist. The fact that he could create an antimatter cosmic rod and just kind of like has it as like a backup to trick supervillains is that's some thinking right there.
He didn't even brag about it. He just had it.
Yeah, no, very humble, that Ted Knight.
What do you think about this one, Eric Breen? Is this the kind of stuff that as a kid, like the comic books dreams are made of, seeing these kind of things happen?
I was paging through this again. I think this is just a blast. I said, it's this time around they lose. Each time the Justice Society wins, they lose. So even though they didn't get to say Volthum or however you pronounce that, and
I guess the Crime Syndicate had anticipated losing, so Power Ring set his ring to transport the JSA to Earth 3 anytime they said they won. Is that how it went?
Yeah, it was once they declared they won and they said like won out loud, that's what activated that. But I also really appreciate the fight between Dr. Fate and Power Ring, where I feel like you really need to be like on shrooms to truly appreciate, because that's so out there. It's just like there's a wheel with the Zodiac and it's come to life. You're like, what is happening? That's
we're at the point of the story where you realize it's all about ego at this point, because the Justice League, is they're superior on Earth 1. The Crime Syndicate superior on Earth 3. So how are you going to settle this? We're going to have it out on Earth 2.
Yeah, so the Justice Society has been sent out to Earth 3, but they bring the Justice League back to Earth 2 so they could square off. And then we finally get all the matchups that you kind of wanted from the beginning. Superman, Ultraman, Green Lantern, Power Ring, Wonder Woman, Superwoman, who obviously already fought, Flash, Johnny Quick, Batman, Owlman. And I don't know. This is I guess that's why you didn't get it the first time, because that was the big payoff, Joe.
Yeah, but I also think it's important here for everyone to look at the last panel on page 9 of Black Canary, like gripping Superwoman in an interesting pose, saying, "Let's see you work your way out of this, honey."
That sounds tight.
Yeah, it's it's something there. I'm sure Mike enjoyed drawing that panel, is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. You sneak a little bit of this stuff into some of these kids' comics back in the day. It's like when you're watching the Pixar movie, you get the adult joke every once in a while. You're like, thank you.
Yes.
So when these battles are over, Breen, the JLA are victorious. They banished the CSA to a bubble, I don't know, like a prison between worlds, and then both teams return to the original Earths. And this just set, like I mentioned earlier, it sets up an annual meetup between the Justice League of America and the Justice Society of America that goes on for, what, like a decade? Maybe longer than that, Breen?
Oh, yeah. It, like you said, up through the second to last year of the original Justice League series. Yeah. But I do have a question before we get to the tail end. There was a scene in the first story where Wonder Woman used her lasso of truth on one of the villains who was disguised as someone else, and that negated her power, so he was able to, escape, like pull her and the lasso.
Yeah.
I didn't know it worked that way. I thought it was just if she bound a man, that he was compelled.
Yeah.
And then there was when Owlman's sneaking up on Batman, he sneaks up on the wrong side of him. So
his brain.
Yeah.
His left side brain got him.
I kind of wish Gardner Fox were still around to ask him to explain this too. But again, maybe that's something we stopped understanding when we hit puberty and we're reading DC Comics. I don't know.
Yeah. No, naturally.
Or somebody in the comments, has.
I stopped on that page, Breen, that you're talking about with Owlman, and I thought about it, and I was like, nah, I better not think about this. This is too much fun. I'd move on.
Don't think about it too much. But no, it's really great. You get that. You get the important thing is that nobody dares set them free after the multi-language warnings we left posted around their dimensional barrier jail. So, yeah.
And they are not good poker players because when they're trying to figure out what to do with them, when they make one suggestion, they smile like, yeah. They do another one, yeah. The other, no. And that's how they figure out, oh, yeah, there must be a reason. So Green Lantern uses his ring and finds out they have a thing that if they free the Justice Society, Earth 1 and Earth 2 will explode. So that's why when the Justice Society said, well, free us already. What the hell? We can't do that until we drive this energy off and blow up 2 dead worlds instead. So, and that's what the
God
warning.
Bless Gardner Fox.
Please do not feed the crime syndicate.
No, it's wonderful. It's also like surprising they ever came back because I imagine they would have starved to death or been, it
would have been dumb enough to let him out. It's like, no, I mean, it's obviously we've had some fun with this story, but I loved it. I said I could read this stuff all day long. I mean, it's just trying to convince newer readers if all you know are universe shattering events on top of blah blah, it might be a tough sell, but this stuff is just fun. I mean, there's no more, no less. They're just fun comics to read.
Yeah.
There's so many weird versions of Superman at this point in time. I know Perch has been talking about them where he's almost like Loki. He's like mischievous. He's like playing all these pranks and stuff at this point in time. It's just weird.
Yeah. Well, you got so many Superman books. Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Superman Family, Adventure Comics, Action Comics.
I guess eventually they started insinuating that maybe he and his cousin are in some type of relationship, but they can't get married on this world, but they could on other worlds. I think I saw that.
Yeah, I'm blanking on which issue that was in, but I've read that before. Yeah.
Oh, that's strange. That's an odd caveat, Joe. Odd caveat.
Yeah, well, it was a different time.
All right, Bree, what are your last thoughts on Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2, Crisis on Earth 3, and it was the most dangerous planet, something like
of
that.
all, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was a nice break from some of the more serious things we've covered. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wish I'd done like Joe had and gone back and read Showcase 14 to get a little bit of added context. But, I said the thing I read it in has the first 4 team ups.
Nice.
I think I'm going to finish this before I get back to whatever it was I was reading. But
Yeah.
no, this was fun. Like I said, don't read. I don't get to read as many of these kind of just fun stories as I would like because I'm so far behind on other things. But this was a good call, Joe. Glad we did it.
Great.
Hey, Joe, can you imagine somebody nowadays comes back and reads this? They don't even realize, yes, it might be goofy, and yes, it is fun. And we had a good time with it, and I'm glad we read it. Just think about all the things that are spawned from what Gardner Fox creates right here.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the crises, the multiverse, the Crime Syndicate, that you can have different versions of different characters throughout time, and you finally get to see them meet each other and having fan service. Like there's so much stuff that happens in these 4 issues that really like dictate the future of DC Comics.
Sure. And a lot of those fans that were reading this at the time went on to contribute to DC, which is great. It's, you can tell, a lot of the people who work in comics, in the 70s into the 80s read this stuff and loved it. And, maybe they took a more serious approach and all that, but they definitely revered this work.
Absolutely. So this was a lot of fun. Next time, what are we talking about? We're talking about Thor?
We're going to talk Thor, Stan and Jack.
It's not even a Walt Thor. We're going even more way back. We're doing the original Thor creative team.
Yeah, 154, 157. That chunk of Magog. It'll be a good time.
So if you want to get with us, obviously next Saturday we'll be doing Thor 154 through 157. So if you can go find those comics, perhaps some reprints, digital collection or something like that, you can catch it up with us. If people are interested in this story, where is it collected, Joe?
There's
Justice
on the it's in Justice League. The Justice League Silver Age Omnibus Volume 2 has all these stories. It's also in what Breen showed. There's a couple. There's the trades and oversight hardcovers of the Crisis of the Multiverse. I think Volume 1. So you can get those in there.
Awesome! Can't wait to see you guys next week. Should be fun, and man, that was good stuff. We need to do more stuff like this.
We do.
Absolutely.